With Mars stationing direct and eclipse season rapidly approaching, one thing's for certain, we are being launched forward. Hi all, my name is Haley Comet. This is Magic Monday, your weekly horoscope series where we cover not just what's happening with the planets up there, but how it is that you can align with these celestial waves of energy in order to experience more flow and more magic down here on planet Earth. And when it comes to the astrology from February 17th until February 23rd, 2025, flow and magic very well may be top of mind as this week we enter Pisces season. But it's not just Pisces season now, is it? It's eclipse season. Technically, we enter the eclipse window after the final lunation that's not an eclipse, so next week's Pisces new moon. But the sun is officially ingressing into the portion of the sky where the North Node is and where we will have the Virgo lunar eclipse next month. And if you're familiar with astrology, if you're a regular here in my cosmic corner of the internet, you know eclipse season is when things get a little bit wild. But one thing's for certain, and this is important to keep in mind, especially with the sun entering Pisces, everything that is happening at this time ultimately is happening for us. I know a lot of times it can feel like things are happening to us and like the universe is being cruel and mean, but it's going to be important as we transition into eclipse season, as we transition into very spiritual, divinely led Pisces season. It's going to be important to flow with the currents of the cosmos, knowing that it may not all make sense at this particular moment in time. Pisces is a very mysterious energy like that. But there may be pockets or pieces of what is unfolding at this time that a future version of you is very grateful for, either in the wisdom that it bestowed, the path that it cleared for you, the illumination of the truth of what was in your life and the removal of that, like recognizing in time how you truly were being protected. You know, we being children of the universe, right? It's a bit like a toddler begging and pleading so desperately to touch the stove, right? Wanting so desperately to touch the stove. And sometimes we do that with our wants and our desires. Keep in mind, Venus is now in Aries, and this as a sign can sometimes conflate wants with needs. And that's why it gets so urgent, so immediate. I want that now. I want that now. I need it, right? And sometimes the universe shields us from touching the stove, like genuinely from this perspective, right? A more mature perspective. We see the intricacies of the harm that the stove can inflict, the reality of the heat. I know you want it, but trust me, you don't actually want it. If you knew what I know from the universe's perspective, if you knew what I knew, you would not want that. Like, I am protecting you and you're here having a temper tantrum because you want this so badly. But trust me, you do not want this. Like, sometimes things are genuinely being shielded from you because of that. Like, you do not know the reality of what that path, what that desire really has in store for you. And you can feel your feelings, you could have a temper tantrum, but in time, with age, with maturity, with new cycles beginning, you may think back to that and be like, thank goodness I did not get what I was so desperately begging for, right? But sometimes the universe lets us touch a stove, right? We throw a temper tantrum and the universe is like, fine. Sometimes you got to learn from the pain or from the harm that it inflicts. We touch a stove, we get burned. But with that burn brings wisdom. I for sure am not going to touch that stove again. Maybe I can warn other toddlers in my play group, hey, don't touch a stove, that hurts, and maybe help other people avoid that pain. Or maybe just even witnessing how that burn, day one, was so ugly, but the next day was a little bit fainter, and the next day was a little bit fainter, and a little bit fainter, until it fades away into just a scar, a reminder of the pain certainly, but also a living testament to your own strength. It's fascinating when you witness your body healing itself. Like, you get a bruise, or you get a scab, or you get a burn, and of course it hurts, but the next day and the next day it gets a little bit fainter, it gets a little bit more healed, until just a whisper of that pain remains. You know, time is truly such a healer, and it's hard to know at that particular moment when the pain has just been inflicted that it won't always sting to this particular level that it does right now. And again, both experiences can sting. Not getting what we want or getting what we want and getting burned by it. They both hurt. They both sting. But the energy of Pisces season and North Node of Pisces is asking us to let time do its thing. Let the universe do its thing. Sometimes we get that clarity of wisdom after we let things settle, right? After we let things settle. We're entering a water sign season. Sometimes when we kick up the water and there's sand all around, things get so murky. But in time, when we let things settle, when we let things heal, when we let our ego bruise heal, whatever it is, we see with clarity around, oh, I see how that was protecting me. I see how that was launching me forward to this new timeline. I see that how that was teaching me. And it sucks. I'm not saying you have to go into every spiritual lesson all like love and light. This hurts like hell, but at least I'm learning from it. At least the universe is teaching me. Like sometimes it sucks. And I think Saturn in Pisces is an acknowledgement that sometimes it sucks. What is fated? What is not fated? You can acknowledge all day long. It must have not been meant to be. It must have not been meant to be. But still being like, why couldn't it have been? Why couldn't it have been? It's going to be important to let things settle. That things will be clearer in time. The universe knows things that you do not. The universe hears conversations that you are not in. It knows timelines that you do not. It knows your potential in a way that you do not. And it's going to be important to trust, as frustrating as it can be. You can throw a temper tantrum, or 5, listen. You can throw a temper tantrum if you need to. And so it's going to be important as we move into Pisces season and eclipse season, it's going to be important to adapt this evolved, because Pisces absolutely has its shadow side, but the evolved Piscean mentality around trusting what's meant to be will be. This is happening for me, not to me. Even if it feels like the universe is being cruel and mean. Why won't you let me touch the stove? Why did you let me touch the stove? In time, the path becomes clearer. In time, the water settles. In time, clarity arrives. In time, we see the fated or destined elements of the situation, because when we talk about eclipse season, we talk about destiny. So as we are letting fate and destiny do its thing, adopting that mentality of surrender and trust, as frustrating and as challenging it can be, I do want to share that this Sunday, February 23rd, Mars stations direct. Thank goodness. Was this a really long transit for anyone else? Mars retrograde, I always say that. I remember saying that with Mars retrograde in Gemini a couple years ago. Mars retrograde is just a very frustrating time, and I am happy to report that Mars is stationing direct this Sunday. And so you can feel a bit slightly, but a bit more wind in your sails, a little bit more fighting spirit, a little bit more motivation and momentum, because the shadow side of Pisces could also rear its ugly head. You know, Pisces in its highest expression is in flow with the universe and aligned with what is and tuned into intuition, trusts our own inner compass. That's the highest expression of Pisces energy. The shadow side can be a victim mentality as well as being utterly too passive. You know, Pisces is the fish. And it's important that, yes, we acknowledge that we are in the waters of the universe, right? There are certain currents that are sending us in certain directions, like the cosmic currents, the astrology. There's certain things in our life that are moving and flowing and taking us in certain directions. Even if we try to fight, even if we try to force, the current is going where the current is going. And sometimes it's such a strong current, or it's a current that's going in a direction alternate to what we thought it was going to take us to, that we just give up. We just stop swimming. We're like, whatever, geez, I'm done. And again, there is a fine line between this energy of, you know, surrender around, okay, universe, like show me what you got, but also knowing you've got fins, my love, you've got fins. You can still swim. It's not saying you need to fight and go upstream from where the universe is guiding you, but you are still an agent of your own destiny or a co-creator of your own experience. Like, do not utterly outsource your power to, well, if it's meant to be, the universe will just turn me into a pop star overnight. My love, if you do not get in those singing classes and refine your craft and show up, swim, move your fins. Again, things can guide you in a certain direction, but you also have to show up and not allow yourself to just be like a lifeless fish in the current, right? You're not here to be a lifeless fish in the current. And sometimes we get to that state because it's like, why do I even try? And if you're there, I just want to validate you that I think Mars retrograde could have been contributing that. And I do see that slowly and surely shifting. The tides are changing, okay, with Mars direct. So I want to let you know, if you feel like your fighting spirit is at a low, you're ready to just stop swimming and just be like, whatever, universe, just allow me to like wake up with a Grammy or just like make my desires come true. Like, I'm just done. I'm just done even showing up. We are in a dance with the divine, my friend. There are things that we are being guided towards, currents that we are in, but there's also a role for us to do, which is to swim, which is to try, which is to show up. Sometimes we beg and plead for something, it doesn't work out. Sometimes we beg and plead for something and we get hurt from it, and then we have that wisdom from it. But sometimes we beg and plead for something and we get it, and we manifest our dreams into reality. This too is an expression of Piscean energy. So all of these elements of this week's astrology, plus so much more. We haven't even talked about what Mercury is up to this week. We've got a last quarter moon in Sagittarius. We'll break it all down thematically as well as day by day. But before we do, take a step inside my cosmic cafe. Let me know what you are sipping on as we enter Pisces season. Random question for the chat because I'm curious. Do you always need to be drinking something? Like at all times having a beverage in hand? And adding to that, are you a water sign or do you have strong water sign placements? I'm so curious because you all may know, I mean, yes, it's like a segment that I'm always drinking a drink within Magic Monday, but it extended because I'm literally just always having a beverage in hand. Like I can't do anything, I feel like, if I'm not drinking something. Like the other videos on my channel, I may not talk about the drink, I may not show the drink, but it's there. It's just out of the camera sight. And if you work one-on-one with me, you know that I roll up to every single consultation with a tea in hand, a coffee in hand, a water in hand. I'm always sipping something. And I'm curious if it's because I myself am a water sign that I literally feel vulnerable if I don't have a beverage in hand. So I'm just curious if you could weigh in below. Today's beverage is the La Colombe strawberry mocha cold brew. I just thought it was so cute. You guys know marketing works on me, aesthetics work on me. You also might be curious at this moment if you clicked on the wrong week of astrology. If you're like, why is everything so Valentine's Day coded? Why are you wearing a heart sweatshirt? Why are there Valentine's Day flowers right there? Why is there a Valentine's Day drink? Like, did I accidentally click on the week of astrology of February 14th? No, you didn't. It's just my favorite holiday. So I just thought, why not just have another week of the Valentine's Day aesthetic. Plus, these flowers deserved their moment to shine. But let me take a sip of this because I've actually been waiting patiently so I can try it on camera. I'm actually getting hit with so many different nostalgic drinks. This like is transporting me back to my childhood. It feels like very Mars and Cancer retrograde coded, very Venus and Aries coded. But I taste the Nesquik strawberry milk that was like in a yellow bottle. I don't know if you guys ever tried that. I also taste, in some taste, it tastes like Ovaltine, which I used to make every day after school. I loved Ovaltine. So there's some sips that taste like straight up strawberry milk, and then there's some sips that taste like Ovaltine, very chocolatey. Personally, taste-wise, I don't think I would buy it again, but can-wise, I absolutely would. And you guys know, if you watch Magic Monday, Cosmic Café is also where I just kind of like update life updates, business updates, Magic Monday updates. Firstly, I just want to say, I don't know if you can tell, but my voice is just sounding weird. I'm not sick. I feel totally fine. I was just at a birthday dinner last night, and it was like one of those restaurants that's like actually a club. Like there was a DJ literally right next to our table. So I was like screaming, fighting for my life to have a conversation over this man playing a remix of Desperado on this rooftop of this like Gaslamp Quarter establishment. Like I should have known. I really should have known. If you're familiar with San Diego, I should have known right when I saw the birthday dinner was in Gaslamp Quarter that I would not be like a quiet endeavor. But anyways, I was screaming, fighting for my life, trying to uphold a conversation. Why do we have a DJ at a restaurant? Like, I don't understand. I get it's Gaslamp Quarter, but it's like everybody's like sitting down enjoying a meal and nobody can really talk or converse because the DJ keeps doing that alarm sound like wah, 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 that DJs always do. I was fighting for my life. I was fighting for my life trying to chit-chat with everybody. So that's where my voice went. Also, I just want to do my weekly apology. Gosh, when am I going to get my schedule together? Oh, I feel like all Mars retrograde I've been apologizing for Magic Monday being late. Fingers crossed that Sunday, February 23rd is the day that I finally get my schedule in order, because I know that some of you are Sunday watchers and I'm so sorry. I'm trying to get it together. Life has just had many many trials, many tribulations. I'm just kidding. I'm being dramatic. But this week, the reason why Magic Monday is delayed is because I dropped a feature-length film on my YouTube channel this week. The Venus Retrograde All Signs Forecast is now live. You can check it out within the description, as well as I'll link it above. It talks about the upcoming Venus Retrograde that we have in store for us in March and April 2025, what it will have in store for you and your signs. So make sure to check that out after you get caught up on Magic Monday. But yeah, that was also a lot of talking, so I'm sure that also affected my voice, and that was just a lot of editing. And then it was Valentine's Day, and you guys know it's my favorite holiday, so I just needed to not look at a screen and just go have some fun. And fun I did have. Roller skated, went out to the movies, went out to dinner. So yeah, I don't really have a valid excuse for why Magic Monday is late. I just felt like I was gonna tear my hair out if I had to look at a screen for like one more minute after completing that particular video. So I'm so sorry. But regardless, I'm here, you're here. We're almost to the other side of Mars retrograde, my loves. We almost did it. Whew. Has anybody else been feeling this way? Drained, depleted? Maybe you've been slow on your timelines, things like this. I would love to know. Let's all just have a vent sesh in the comments of what Mars retrograde was all about. And also, if you want to like revisit what this transit was all about, where it was transiting in your chart, I'll also drop the Mars retrograde video below where you can tap into that or look into that just in case you want to see how it manifested now that we're at the end of this particular transit. But without further ado, my love, we have lots to discuss. So let's go ahead and take it into the vibe check of the week. So in vibe check of the week, we essentially give the week a vibe check, as the name would imply. But essentially, we take all of the energetics of the week's astrology and compare it to a real life scenario. I am not suggesting that this exact situation will play out within your world, but if you tune into the themes, if you tune into the dynamics and the emotions, you may see that a familiar one surfaces within your universe. And this week's vibe check is about flying a little close to the sun. Flying a little close to the sun, a little too close to the sun. But it also works out, strangely. Okay, let's get into this. I like to paint a picture with this. So feel free, as always, to sub in whichever details that make it more relevant to your world. So we will say that you studied French in high school. You studied French in high school. Maybe you took a couple of college classes in French as well. And you are at a birthday dinner. We'll say you're at a birthday dinner celebrating a Pisces within your world, and the person within your world has different groups of friends from different seasons of her life. And so you're conversing, you guys are talking amongst yourself. You also may have to scream in order to be heard above the DJ playing a remix of Rhythm of the Night, who knows, something like that. And you are chatting with a gal next to you who is friends with the birthday girl from a different season of her life. Maybe they're work friends or something. And so the two of you are connecting and chatting, screaming, right, above the music, but you guys are connecting. And the topic of different languages comes up and you say, oh yeah, I speak French. Keep in mind, we're in Pisces season. Mercury's in Pisces. Pisces has a lot of things. A good grasp on reality. Not one of them. Not one of them. Pisces' relationship to reality is nebulous at best, delusional at worst. And it's not always so nefarious. Like, certainly you'll find some Pisces who are actively con artists and liars and like use their warped sensation of reality in order to inflict harm. Most of the time with most Pisces, it's harmless. It's kind of like that energy when you meet strangers at a bar and you pretend to be from a different state that you're from and that you're a dentist with a pet pig. Like, just those like harmless lies where it's like, I'm never gonna see you again. Like, I'm just gonna, you know, concoct this reality. And sometimes you'll talk to Pisces where, because it's a sign that kind of exists within its own inner world, sometimes that's genuinely how it feels to them, is this warped idea of reality. So is it lying if they feel like it's their truth? Nevertheless, so you guys are talking about how it is that you speak French. Are you embellishing a bit? Yes, you are. Come on, you know that those high school classes were a long time ago and college was a little bit away ago as well. You may know a parlez-vous français here and there, but fluent you are not. Fluent you are not. And it just so happens that the individual sitting on the other side of the gal that you are talking to happens to be French. you did not know this. You did not know this. You did not know she was French. And so the gal next to you says, oh my gosh, like you guys should speak French to each other since you both know French. And so that individual starts telling you a lot of French. Keep in mind, it's very, very loud in this establishment. So that's also posing a challenge. And yes, you do know French, but this is all happening quite quickly. Plus, now the DJ is mixing in a trap remix of Electric Slide for some reason. So there are some significant hurdles to you understanding this individual. So you kind of just, fake it within that particular moment, say the French words that you know, and later on in the night, you and the individual who does speak French happen to be going to the restroom at the same time, so it's a little bit more quiet, and the individual starts speaking French to you again, and you use all of your might. You pull from all of those resources, and you challenge yourself. You know your pronunciation is not great, but you challenge yourself. You're like, you know what? I won't get better at this until I practice and until I put myself in this uncomfortable situation. Like I could back down and just be like, yeah, I kind of embellished a little bit. I'm not exactly fluent. I just took some classes. But you instead choose to really show up for the conversation. So you utilize all of your processing skills, all of your ability, and you're actually able to have this really lovely conversation in French with this individual within the bathroom. And she actually gives you some pointers just around pronunciation, but she actually commends you on your conjugation, on your vocabulary, which gives you a boost. It gives you some momentum. Because honestly, it's been many years since you've been challenged in this way, and you didn't want to put yourself out there and look dumb trying to speak French to other individuals. So you kind of have been letting that knowledge base kind of like wither away. You haven't really been practicing or putting yourself out there. You have dreams of traveling to France. You want to get better when it comes to your French, but because you don't want to look dumb, you've kept yourself away from opportunities like this where it is that you could learn. And this experience really motivates you and inspires you. And we'll say the day after this birthday dinner, you decide to enroll in another French class in order to practice your skills, and you befriend that individual that you met at the birthday party. So the two of you can DM and you could practice your French there as well. So it ends up working out. Again, this is not me saying within this week's astrology that we should lie or we should embellish or we should say that we're fluent in a language when we know that those classes were a while ago. But sometimes shooting our shot, putting ourselves out there works out. Even if there's moments around, can I do this? Do I know enough for this? And again, this isn't going to show up in this exact specific example, but tune into the vibe. This could come up at work around you launch an idea and then they're like, oh, that sounds like a great idea. Can you lead the charge on that? And all of a sudden you are directing this whole campaign and you're like, did I fly a little close to the sun, right? Is this a little bit too much that I've gotten myself into? Some of you could commit to something that's a little outside of your comfort zone, and there's part of you that wants to just back down to avoid this particular challenge. Maybe you say at this birthday dinner, yeah, I really want to go rock climbing, and then someone hits you up like, hey, we're going rock climbing this day, and you're like, oh, oh, did I really want to, or did I just say that? Keep in mind, this week we have Mercury squaring Jupiter, hence this energy around flying too close to the sun. Or really what I should say is like over-promising is an energy with this, or getting caught up in the fantasy around, yeah, I speak French, yeah, I love to rock climbing, but like when push comes to shove, it's like, okay, it's time to rock climb. Okay, it's time to speak French. Can I do this, right? It's nice to spin words, and words can sound pretty, and sometimes we can get caught up in the moment, but there comes a time in which that work campaign, we've got to lead it now. We talked it up, now we got to do it. Or it's time to put on our harness and go rock climbing. It's time to speak French, okay? It's game time, right? And I think Mars Direct will help us with that kind of fighting spirit, because the reason why in the vibe check, and honestly, you flying a little close to the sun this week might actually work out, is because Mercury trines Mars in Cancer. Now keep in mind, these planets are not dignified. There's actually a lot of the cosmos this week that is not dignified. At the beginning of the week, the sun is in Aquarius, not dignified. We have the moon entering Scorpio and Capricorn this week, not dignified. Mercury, not dignified in Pisces. Venus, not dignified in Aries. Mars, not dignified in Cancer. Jupiter, not dignified in Gemini. Wow, that is a lot of planets that are sitting in territory that they're like, not the most comfortable here. Low-key me at that club restaurant, screaming to be heard above the DJ playing The Middle. I'm just kidding. I had a great time. Like, it was a great time, but I definitely had an energy around being out in the Gaston Quarter last night and being like, this is just not the waters that I typically swim in. And a lot of the planets are kind of sitting in territory where they are not particularly comfortable as well. But even though they're not dignified, sometimes we are out of our element, but we can tap into new sides of ourselves when we do take ourselves out of our comfort zone, right? Out of our typical element. It's a little awkward, it's a little uncomfortable, but sometimes we can either tap into new elements of ourselves or really thrive with the energy. And I bring that up because Mercury in Pisces, it doesn't necessarily have an eye for the detail. Mercury is all around the linear facts of a situation. With Mercury in Pisces, sometimes we can get caught up in the fantasy and the storytelling and the imagination. But this too can work for us, honestly. Like with Mercury in Pisces, trining Mars in Cancer, it feels like this energy around being a little delusional, but it working out. The most successful people are a little delusional. You have to be a little delusional or a little removed from reality in order to make your dreams come true. So yes, Mercury is not Mercurying at its finest capacity, but it does have skills and abilities, and it's being like supercharged by Mars, who's stationing direct, which is this energy around speaking it into existence, allowing ourselves to curate and conjure a reality that we would like to step into, and moving towards it and not backing down from something that takes us outside of our comfort zone. So of course, we'll take this day by day as well as thematically. And I just want to also highlight, I also was at a birthday dinner in a very loud establishment, but I just want to say this situation did not play out within my world. I don't speak French. I never claimed to speak French. That situation didn't happen. I wish I could have refined my French speaking abilities in the bathroom. I just want to mention that just in case any of you were like, is this autobiographical? No. But nevertheless, let's take it into our day by day. I just want to let you know I'm located in California. So when I share my forecast, I always do so from my own time zone, which is PST. Please adjust to your time zone if you are located elsewhere in the world. I also have timestamps below if you want to jump to a particular day, jump back to a particular day. There's also an option within the gear icon to adjust my playback speed. You could speed me up, you could slow me down, whatever you like. Whatever you like. So on Monday, February 17th, we have a farewell to Aquarius season sort of day. It's the final day of Aquarius season, and in its final hurrah, the Aquarius sun trines the moon in Libra at 3:24 p.m., of course, a fellow air sign. And so it is really a time to prioritize connection, I would say. And this may show up in a way around you have the day to run errands with your friends, right? Or you have a family barbecue of some sort, or you go on a day date with your partner, something like this. But even if you have tasks and responsibilities, there's an ask around remembering the who that you are doing it for, whether it's who you support, right? Who you provide for, or the clients and the customers that you serve. Like at the end of the day, it all comes down to connection. And finding those moments to connect on Monday, no matter how big or small that shows up, like taking that opportunity to strike up a conversation with the person in front of you in line at the grocery store, or taking that moment to really check in with your client as you're doing their hair around how are you really, right? Like prioritizing connection for connection's sake. This is a worthwhile aim. And really just focusing on what it is that we can learn from one another. I find the Aquarians and the Libras within my life, and the Geminis as well, they always have the most fun facts to share at the dinner table, right? Within the vibe check or something like this. And so with the energy of Aquarius sun trining Libra moon, there could be an acknowledgement around what it is that you're learning or who it is that you're learning it from. So to commemorate the end of an air sign season, this would be a really lovely day to call up someone you haven't talked to in a while, send a dear friend a meme, post something for the purpose of connection to your social media following. Again, sometimes we can get so caught up in what we are doing that we forget who we are doing it for. And the who is the biggest part. Like at the end of the day, we are here to connect, and connection is all around you. I know we're off the heels of Valentine's Day, and I'm still rocking with the Valentine's Day theme. And I think a lot of times when it comes to Valentine's Day, there can be such a focus around how big everybody's bouquets of flowers were, right? Or such a focus on romantic love. Connection is all around you. Sometimes when we're craving something, it's an invitation to give that even more so, like give what it is that we want to receive. So if you're feeling somewhat lonely or somewhat isolated, like really make that intentional effort, look people in the eyes, genuinely have that moment of like checking in around, how are you? Like at the end of the day, why I love Valentine's Day is that it really is just a celebration of love in all of its forms, and know that love exists exists because you exist. And yes, Aquarius season, sometimes we can feel like an alien or we can feel somewhat different, but with the Libra moon, there are similarities. No matter how different we feel, we'll say, in the vibe check at that birthday dinner, it's like you didn't really know a lot of other people. It feels like your path a little bit different than others, but you can find just in the conversation of the gal that was sitting next to you and the individual who you spoke to in the bathroom and the person across the way, like all of you were from different walks of life and you did feel a little different because you didn't know these people, but at the end of the day, you were able to connect about your dog with the gal across the table and talking about traveling with the person next to you and with the individual who you spoke to in the bathroom. Again, as different as we can feel, there are elements of resonance or relatability. Sometimes we just have to consciously make that effort in order to connect on that human level. Also, today's a great day to prioritize that. And then the moon's void after the trine to the Aquarius sun at 3:24 until it enters Scorpio at 4:19 p.m., building to square Pluto around 9 p.m. Spite, envy, are elements that distance us more than bring us closer to connection. Again, if you're sitting at the dinner table and talking with the gal next to you and she's talking about all these places that she's traveled and you've done some traveling, but you're like, dang, how do you have the time to travel to 3 different continents in a year? And rather than using that as an opportunity to connect or even be curious, how was that experience for you? When you apply that to your own world around, I didn't get to travel 3 continents this year. Spite and envy, it really poisons connection. And it's natural, of course, as we connect with different people, whether it's in real life or on social media, like naturally these things are going to bring up a feeling of comparison at times or being envious around experiences that other people are having that we feel like we were denied. But that puts us even more on an island. It creates more distance rather than connection. Like there's an invitation to really prioritize the connection part of it. We're all on our own journey, right? Pisces season is a reminder of that. And there's really not a need to compare what that looks like to other people. Of course, it's human nature. It's natural. As we connect, even if we don't intend to, there is an element of comparison or just tuning into how other people are living. And sometimes that providing contrast to the ways that our life is turning out to be, and sometimes making us feel some type of way about it. And while you can acknowledge those particular feelings, just knowing that that can sometimes create distance from people because we're just kind of poisoning the connection with the feelings of envy and spite around, I want to travel 3 continents. How does this person have the money to do all that traveling or get all the time off or things like that? There's an ask. You can feel your feelings about it, but no, your journey is your own. It's taking you into different places and seeing where it is that you can transmute those feelings of jealousy that sometimes do come up. I mean, it's natural. It's human nature. I'm not saying it's wrong, but what I'm saying is that sometimes it poisons connections that can be very pure and amazing. Like if you've ever dated someone who was like in secret competition with you, where you're like, it doesn't need to be like this, or a friend who's been like secret competition with you, and it creates this like frenemy-like energy where they're never like happy for you, or maybe you relate around you've been friends with people or dated people where it just seems like they get everything handed to them and everything's so easy for them, and it leaves you feeling like, what about me? Again, that does create more of a chasm or a little bit more distance around connection because it just can bring in these weird energies, right, to the dynamic when ultimately we should be here to be able to support one another and cheerlead one another and celebrate one another's win without poisoning it by comparing it to our perceived losses. We're all on our own journey. And again, the emotions that may come up on Monday, it may have nothing to do with jealousy. There just could be something that kind of takes you into a darker, deeper place. Again, this could be some sort of fear of the future. You can be feeling things really extreme, right? My encouragement would be see where it is that you can transmute that emotion or turn it into something else. Again, you can feel your feelings if you do scroll on social media and you see something where it seems like somebody is living this amazing charmed life and you're out here with your real struggles and challenges like, oh, why is it so easy for everybody else, right? Or talking with other people at birthday dinner, it seems like everybody else is getting what it is that you want. And it's natural to allow those feelings to come up, but allow yourself to transmute it around either curiosity around rather than feeling bitter that this person has traveled to 3 continents in a year, asking them, how do you do that? Being curious around it, seeing what it is that you can learn from them, right? Sun at the indirect degree in Aquarius, see where it is that you can learn or find more connection or community even throughout this. But also if you're dealing with something within your life, something's not going according to plan, you're simmering with these intense emotions, see where it is that you can turn it either into a workout, be gentle with Mars retrograde, some sort of workout in some regard, putting it into poetry, putting it into art, putting it into some sort of meditation, or like seeing where it is that you can transmute it or transform it. Because when we feel anything intensely, like that's energy, right? That's passion. And sure, it can get sinister. And with us entering Pisces season this week, it's all too easy, especially at a time like this, where we could feed like kind of victim mentality, or like woe is me, or like everybody is getting what they want and I'm out here. I don't have as many dogs as the girl across from me does. I haven't been able to travel to all these continents like the girl next to me does. I can't speak French as well as the girl over there does. Like, again, when we're like kind of stewing these feelings, it's easy to indulge in them. Again, you could feel them. There's a difference between feeling something and indulging in it, right? Or allowing that negative spiral to just continue to feed itself. At a certain point, you need to acknowledge, okay, there's a lot of emotion, there's a lot of passion here. What can I do with this? Like, this too can be fuel that I could put into something, put into art, put into Duolingo to up my French game. Something like this. On Tuesday, February 18th at 2:07 a.m. PST, the sun enters Pisces, kicking off birthday season for all of the magical, mystical fish out there. Sound off in the comments. I know that there's quite a few Pisces on this channel. We fish, swim together. And in honor of your birthday season, I just want to say, Pisces, you astound me with the beauty of your heart and your soul, the depth of your compassion and empathy for all sorts of people, even if they have lives that differ quite drastically from your own. Your ability to find the humor in situations that are quite grim, your ability to manifest it with relative ease once you master your magic. I am continually in awe of the Pisceans within my life. And I'm not just saying this because I am a Pisces. Like, truly, I would not be the person I am if not for the fish that are in my life. And I hope that you all have a wonderful birthday season. Let me know what you are planning, because the transits have been challenging for the Pisces. But honestly, I have been so impressed with my Pisces clients, my Pisces friends, my Pisces loved ones. I feel like we are handling the Saturn and Pisces energy and tapping into strength and boundaries and responsibility and discipline from reservoirs that I certainly, for one, did not know I had. But I feel like Saturn and Pisces is tough, but Pisces placements have been showing me that they're tougher than the Saturn and Pisces energies. But I want to let us all know, just in the collective waters that we are swimming in, Pisces placements or no, I do want to let you know that we are closing out a season when we enter Pisces season. This is the final sign of the zodiac. So in astrology, the new year begins in March. So we're at the end of the year. This is like December from an astrological perspective. And what I mean by that is that it's a time of wrapping up, right? And yes, it's a very emotional time of year. You know, Pisces season, it's not just feeling our own emotions with all of this nuance and all of this depth. It's also feeling the emotions of those around us and the energetic and emotional undercurrents all around us, right? It's feeling quite a lot. And it's important to be graceful with yourself through that, because it's not just feeling what's coming up now. To a certain degree, it's shedding an entire year of experiences, right? Or feeling an entire year of experiences as we prepare for this rebirth when the sun enters Aries. And so there is an ask to be patient with yourself and how deeply you are feeling, both for your own challenges, trials, and tribulations, as well as others. And just knowing, like, Pisces energy, you know, it's mutable water. So the currents of the emotions could change from moment to moment, and you might feel yourself oscillating quite a bit, feeling shades of grief in one moment, and then seeing the sun poke through the leaves and feeling utter euphoria, then listening to a song and feeling tears sting your eyes, and then getting a text from someone that you hold dear and feeling like your heart's going to explode with awe. We're feeling everything with more depth and more intensity, and it could feel quite changeable. It could feel quite flowing from one moment to the next. And there's an ask to be the container that is processing all of these emotions as they're moving through you, recognizing that nothing lasts forever, right? If we think about the zodiac as a life cycle, Pisces is old age and then what comes beyond, right? So there is this acknowledgement of transition, right? And just knowing that emotions don't last forever. The season of your life won't last forever. And sometimes that's challenging when we're in moments that we want to soak in so deeply. And sometimes that's challenging. It could bring in fear. You know, we're starting Pisces season with the Scorpio moon. It'd be like, oh my gosh, how are things going to change and transform? And am I ready for this? Am I strong enough for this? What have you? But there's an invitation, just be the container that holds this moment so deeply, and knowing that this moment will pass, as all moments do. Holding this emotion so deeply, knowing that it will pass, as all things do. And holding this chapter of your life so deeply, knowing that it will change, as all things do. And eclipse season is a reminder of this. Who are these men? Who are these men talking outside of my house? Don't they know it's my season? Don't they know it's Pisces season? Like, how is a fish meant to swim in these conditions? In these conditions. Anyways, the moon is in Scorpio all day long. And so this can lead to depth of emotion. You know, it's important to keep in mind that a lot of the cosmos is in water right now. You know, we've got Sun, Moon, Mercury, and Mars, and Saturn, if we're counting the outer planets, all in the water element currently. And certainly there's lots of beauty of navigating so much watery energy. There could be otherworldly, ethereal levels of inspiration, of calls from muse. You can feel more guided by your own intuition, seeing signs and synchronicities everywhere, finding humor within your surroundings, finding flow within your surroundings, being able to hold space for your own emotions as well as the emotions of others. There's lots of beauty about all of this watery energy, but sometimes water can get a little soggy, so to speak. Sometimes we can feel a little weighted down by our own disappointments, or just the disappointments of life itself. Like, life is disappointing. That's why they say with Pisces energy, it's like we are so disappointed by this world that we went off and created our own. We can't deal with this, because truly, the world that we inhabit, there's so much pain, there's so much suffering, there's so much that's deeply unfair about it. If you really go down that path, it's almost like impossible to reckon with, to hold the space for all of the pain and the suffering that is happening all around us, truly. And certainly allowing ourselves to feel what is passing through for ourselves, for other people, for humanity altogether. There's also an urge to be very intentional around filtering your water system, right? Because when we just constantly subject ourselves to the pain and the suffering, the disappointments of life without filtering our waters, things get murky. We get jaded. We feel disillusioned. We get into that energy around, well, what's the point? What's the point even? What's the point? If everything just leads to pain and suffering, what's the point of even trying? And there's a nudge at this time to really plug into what filters your waters. This is what allows you to show up. Because again, if there's too much of that taken in, things get murky and you can't inspire or heal yourself. You certainly can't provide your healing, compassionate waters to others. It's important to have those things that you plug into that's bigger than you, that helps filter your water system. For some, this could be art, right? Big art time of year, Pisces season. It's rare that you find a Pisces who is not in some way creative, right? Because there was typically an ask when you feel things so deeply, it's like, I've got to do something with this pain. I've got to take this pain and make it paint. And so a lot of Pisces are drawn to art for that reason, right? Either consuming it around this makes me feel understood, or creating it around I've got to do something with this. Also the divine, divinity, spirituality, really important to plug into, to meditate, to show up for your own spiritual rituals, to allow this to cleanse your water, to plug into the compassionate love from your angels, from your ancestors, even being out in nature, being in that divinity, in that beauty, and allowing that to reset your soul. There's an ask, I would say a need, really, to be very intentional about that as we navigate Pisces season. Because again, if we just absorb more and more, never allow ourselves to filter it out by plugging into something that's divine and beautiful, even when this world can be so ugly, again, we could just absorb and absorb and absorb that ugliness and maybe even become ugly. Be like, what's the point of trying to be compassionate and loving to other people when people have treated me so poorly, or so on and so forth. And there's a need to plug into that spiritual, selfless love from the divine in order to embody that, to become that. Because again, when you keep your own waters clear, that's when you're able to pour into others, right? Nourish others, inspire others. And your protection practices, your rituals, your meditations, they've got to be on point. You know, I love what I do because this makes me, it makes me show up within my world, because I could not do what I do if I did not show up for my spiritual practices, if I did not show up for my work. I would be muddied. I would be disillusioned. You guys would come to the cosmic corner of the internet and literally just have a wet blanket here if I did not show up for those particular things. So I really love that this makes me show up for my own energetic hygiene, forces me to be disciplined about the practices that keep my vibration high, that allow me to align with the vibrations of compassion and love. Because again, we cannot give what we do not maintain for ourselves. So even if you do not have a weekly horoscope series called Magic Monday, because if you do, it's a little awkward. It's a little awkward. But whatever your work is, there's a nudge to be very disciplined about what practices and rituals and hobbies that keep your vibration high, that keep you in alignment with the frequencies of compassion and love and inspiration. It's a muscle to work. It's a muscle to work to regularly do the things that you know allow you to show up with gratitude, with compassion, even if a million things on this planet have given you reason not to show up that way and just to be jaded and bitter and disillusioned. With the energy of Pisces, you do not need to be passive to the world around you. There's a need to be active, swimming in your own waters by acknowledging the reality of circumstances, but also recognizing I can play a role in this. You know, we can allow the suffering and the pain of this experience to make us jaded and disillusioned and bitter, or we can allow it to deeply empathize with other people and want to help and want to support, and honoring that whatever within our lives allows us to show up with more faith, we are able to then transmit that to other humans. And the Scorpio moon trines Mercury in Pisces at 7:55 a.m. And Mercury and Pisces all together can be a really great energy for like channeling. Like some of you could be like channeling poetry or writing or, you know, YouTube videos, whatever it is that you do. With Mercury and Pisces, it's like this energy around allowing the flow of the divine to kind of move through you. You could be gifted with the exact right things to say within a certain conversation or in connecting with somebody or in a certain art project. There could also be a nudge around really wanting to converse about what it is that you are emotionally processing and moving through. Again, I know when we chat with other people, it can seem like everybody else is living these perfect, idealized lives, but all of us are experiencing shades of depth of pain and suffering. Like nobody gets out of this planet unscathed, like truly. It might seem like things are a certain way when you're talking to the girl across around her 3 dogs and the person next to you has been to 3 continents. Like it can seem like you're the only one who's moving through pain and suffering and anguish or what have you. But we all are, just in different ways, in different life arenas. And with the energy of Scorpio moon trine Mercury in Pisces, there could be like some vulnerable conversations that are had today, or even just an energy around being able to talk with someone about something deep and intense and be like, I see you, I get that. Or being able to converse about something deep and intense. I was talking to someone who's in self-care astrology, one of the amazing students who's in the program, and we were talking about something that she's going through currently, that I've gone through something super similar. And I was telling her, I was like, if I did not have a YouTube channel, I probably would have gone insane in going through that. Just because there is something healing around being able to tell your story truly. Sometimes you don't realize dimensions of it until you say it or until you speak it in a particular way. And then you're like, oh, that is actually exactly what it feels like. And again, being able to transmute your own pain by seeing how it allowed one person on Magic Monday to feel more seen, or one person in the Venus retrograde all signs forecast to feel less alone. It changes your relationship to the pain or to the suffering when you see that other people can relate to shades of it, and that maybe even some people can take in warning signs from that where they don't touch the stove, so to speak. So give your pain a microphone. I'm not saying you need to broadcast it out to the world, but pour it into something, put it into art, Record yourself even in photo booth. Have a voice note that you don't send anyone. Share it to someone else. Give advice to someone else that helps transmute the pain. Even like journal on it. Again, it might have been a really awful situation to go through, but my goodness, did you write a beautiful poem in describing it? Or my goodness, does this give a beautiful depth that you can add to the next character in your screenplay? Or my goodness, isn't there a funny bit of dark humor embedded that you can use with an upcoming bit in your stand-up set? Again, you could turn it into humor, you could turn it into advice, you could turn it into wisdom. Again, it hurts. It's not denying that hurt or taking away that hurt, but knowing with time, the wound fades into a scar. And also if you've turned it into something else, it doesn't take away the pain, but it transforms your relationship to it. On Wednesday, February 19th, we have a really lovely grand water trine aligning in the morning hours, linking the Scorpio moon with who it's answering to, Mars in Cancer, and trining Saturn in Pisces. And this happens between the hours of like 3 and 8 a.m. And water grand trines ask us to flow. Again, there's work that's our work, and there's work that's the universe's work, right? We've got to show up for our work, and we've got to trust that the universe will do its, even amidst the ups and downs and the plot twist we were not expecting. Because later on, around 4 p.m., the moon opposes Uranus. My encouragement on Wednesday would be to set the pace. Decide how you want to feel today and consciously align yourself with that frequency. We're all in Pisces season, which is a masterclass around how we create our own reality, okay? And again, situations are what situations are. Sometimes we cannot help the currents that we are in, right? But you can decide whether or not you show up. You can surrender to the universe while also showing up. It's like allowing the universe to do its work while you show up to do yours. You're carried by this certain current, but my goodness, you've got fins for a reason. Like you can swim, you can show up, you're stronger than you realize. The energy with Mars retrograde, a lot of us could be wanting to give up. Things could feel challenging. You could have trials and tribulations alive within your world. Show up. And in the morning time, sometimes with Scorpio moon, we just wake up on the wrong side of the bed, right? We're just grumpy. We overslept, having a bad hair day, burnt our bagel. And if we indulge within that around my life is the worst and everything's hard for me and what have you, we will just find more to be grumpy about. Like sometimes we have to be disciplined, right? With Saturn and Pisces around, okay, I'm feeling some type of way, but I'm also not going to indulge in that particular vibration. What is one thing I can do to start this Wednesday morning that will align me with gratitude or compassion? Again, reach for what's accessible. It's not vibrationally always accessible to jump from despair to euphoria, right? Sometimes you just need to reach up towards what's one thing I'm grateful for. At least I have a bagel to burn. At least I have a bagel to burn, right? Sometimes you just got to reach for whatever is accessible rather than continuing to go down around and another thing. Last week's Magic Monday, you can get caught up there as well as below. We were talking about that energy around and another thing in reference to like conflicts that you experience with others. But sometimes we do that to ourselves around we're in a bad mood and then we just find more to be grumpy about or in a bad mood about. And my encouragement on Wednesday is like consciously decide, okay, that's enough of that particular spiral. I'm going to intentionally look out for one thing I'm grateful for. No matter how much I have to do that with gritted teeth and clenched fists, what's one thing I'm grateful for? And then the moon will oppose Uranus around 3:47 p.m. So again, technical difficulties, ups and downs, emotions could catch you by surprise. You can feel a little erratic. You can have a hard time focusing. All themes to look out for. On Thursday, February 20th, at 9:33 a.m. PST, we have a last quarter moon in Sagittarius. So firstly, this is a callback to last week's full moon in Leo, which I would love to hear. How did that go for you? What was your plot twist? If one came up, were you dramatic? Did you crash out? Did you feel all over the place? I would love to know how that showed up for you. But the last quarter moon can check in with that story potentially. And last quarter moons are typically around this energy of a crisis of faith, so to speak, which feels very relevant because it's a Pisces sun squaring a moon in Sagittarius, both answering to Jupiter, which is a planet around, faith, amongst other things. So there's energy around plugging into what gives your life a sense of meaning. Because again, life can feel meaningless. A lot of times it can feel like we're just going through the motions and it's like, what's it all for? And again, the beginning of the week was like, who's it for, right? The people, the connection in this life. But this is more so an ask, what gives my life a sense of meaning? right? What is the direction that I'm feeling like I'm moving in? Sagittarius is the archer. Like, what do I feel like I'm moving towards? What truth am I hoping that I'm moving towards? And with the last quarter moon, yes, sometimes this energy can get a little existential. Like, what's the point of it all? But I think sometimes when we even ask, like, what's the point? What am I even doing? Sometimes it's a very positive sign when you feel lost. Like, truly, when you feel a little lost in life, that represents that you do not recognize what your life is turning into, what you are transforming into. Sometimes even asking ourselves the question, what's the meaning of it all? Sometimes even the questioning of that is a sign that you're looking for meaning. You're looking for depth. And what it is that you seek, you will find. It just may not show up in the ways that you wanted or on the path that you wanted. But the fact that you're even asking, what gives my life a sense of meaning? What is it all about? What am I here for? Is a positive sign that you're moving in the right direction. You're asking yourself the important questions. These are good questions to be asking yourself. You don't want to not ask yourself these questions in life. You know, you want to live an examined life, so to speak. That's what creates wanderlust, right? Wanting to travel new places with the Sagittarius moon, or wanting to learn different spiritual studies or dive into other religions, is this desire to find a sense of meaning, to connect to something that feels bigger than ourselves, which again revitalizes us and refreshes us. Because when we get too bogged down within the logistics of our day-to-day, life a lot of times can feel unbearable. And there's just an ask really with the last quarter moon in Sagittarius to plug into the bigger picture. Again, a huge theme with the full moon in Leo squaring Uranus is just acknowledging it's your life, right? And it's your right to move in the directions that feel inspiring and meaningful for you, even if that's different than how other people would, right? And with the last quarter moon, maybe even rejecting or shedding anything that does not feel true to you, what it is that you believe in, what it is that gives you a sense of meaning. Also on Thursday, we have Mercury in Pisces squaring Jupiter in Gemini. This lands at 12:13 p.m. PST. And this was the energy within the vibe check around, talking a big game about your Francois. But when it's time to speak it, you got to back it up, right? There could be an energy around getting a little carried away with Mercury and Pisces. You could make promises that are not realistic to deliver. And like I said in the beginning, sometimes being a little delusional is a good thing. Like, I know for sure I would not be here if I was not delusional. I was not delusional. Like, when I was working at my 9 to 5, it was very delusional to think that I could make a living yapping about my nerdy interests that I've had since I was young. Like, that's a little delusional. It's giving a little delusional, but like, here we are. You have to be a little delusional in order to make your dreams a reality. You have to reject this world and create your own. If you just allow yourself to absorb what's being told to you, what's taught to you, what's normal, what's expected, what people think of you, what is rational, what is realistic, you'll just absorb that all into your waters and be so murky and disconnected from the true potential that exists within your soul. There's an ask with Pisces season to reject this reality and create your own. Around who's to say I can't lead this campaign at work? Who's to say I can't become fluent in French? Who's to say if I just allow myself to feel like a victim of life circumstances and never showing up or trying to bring what it is that I dream into reality, then what's even the point of being alive? I do believe in free will. I believe in fate. I think there's certain experiences that we're destined to unfold, but you also have free will. Will you show up for your fate? Will you meet your fate? Because I would argue, is it really delusional? There's a reason why you dream of the things that you dream. There's bits of your own path that are hinted to you by what it is that you dream of, what it is that you get lost in. We don't all dream of the same things. Like for some people, dreaming of yapping on astrology on camera, that sounds like a nightmare to them. There are people out there who just dream around being able to tend to a farm all day long. Like that would be their dream. Like we all have different visions or different places and spaces in this world that we experience divinity, that we experience feeling fulfilled to something bigger than ourselves. It's all different and it's all trying to nudge us down our path. But if we look at those visions from the framework of this reality and from society, we will think it's delusional. It's delusional to want your own farm. It's delusional to want your own YouTube channel. Yeah, it's delusional until you do it. So is it even delusional, or is it just the divine whispering to you the actualization and the application of all that you were designed to be within this lifetime? Choice is yours. And so what I would be conscious of on Thursday is there could just be a lot of talking. You know, Mercury in Pisces, someone could be fabricating something to you. Could deal with people at work who are like talking a lot about something and you just get a sense you're like, yeah, you kind of seem full of it, right? Honor your intuition. With all this water sign energy, honor your intuition. And I would also say with Mercury square Jupiter, be mindful where you're over-promising to other individuals. Be mindful not to get carried away around storytelling or talking about something until you back yourself up into a corner where you're like, I'm actually not fluent in French. And now this gal is shouting French to me above that. I just came to say hello. So at this loud restaurant, like here I am, I've talked myself into this. How do I get out of this? Because, you know, like I said, with Mercury and Pisces, it's a beautiful thing to reject this reality and curate your own, because that's how we bring visions to reality. But it's also important not to get carried away, because this energy can embellish and dress up. Because that very nature of rejecting reality, creating our own, can lead to embellishing, making things up, things of that nature. And with a square to Jupiter, like a lot of talking. So just be mindful that you can back up what it is that you are talking about or what it is that you are speaking into existence. Be mindful as it relates to timeline. Give yourself a cushion. This could be over-promising, under-delivering, because Mercury is very much a planet that embodies logic. And with Mercury in its fall, we might be a little illogical. And again, I think to bring our dreams into fruition, especially if they seem unrealistic, you have to be a little delulu with it. But I would just say when it comes to your work or tasks or timelines or things where your details really need to be on your side, with Mercury and Pisces, especially with it squaring Jupiter, you might be being overly idealistic about it. You might be being overly optimistic about it. You also might find on Thursday, you have a hard time focusing. That feels very much alive, especially with the moon in Sagittarius. You could find that you are distracted, wanting a new adventure, finding it hard to focus. So our lunar story, outside of the last quarter moon, the moon's in Scorpio in the early hours. It trines Neptune around 2 a.m. So your dreams could be quite intense. Again, your emotions, feeling everything more intensely. Neptune itself is a very imaginative planet as well, so that also can be alive. Moon is void from 2:06 a.m. until it enters Sagittarius at 4:55 a.m. Focuses towards the big picture perspective of our world. Again, it squares off with Pisces sun, so there is an energy of a little delulu on Thursday. It does feel like delulu that works out, somehow flying too close to the sun, but not feeling like our wings, you know, melt off, things like that. To a certain degree, we have to see how high we fly. And it takes challenging ourselves in certain circumstances and being like, why can't this work out for me? Because a lot of times you put yourself out there, you take yourself outside of your comfort zone, or you volunteer for something that scares you a little bit. Maybe you have doubts around, can I do this? But then you surprise yourself. You do better than you thought that you could. You see how high you can fly, right? You don't have your wings melt off. And that's sort of the energy on Thursday. Like I said, not a great day as it relates to reality or details or things like this. And the Sagittarius moon sextiles Pluto around 10-12, kind of like echoing that sentiment I said earlier, where it's like every experience teaches us. And when we turn something into wisdom, we alchemize the experience because we've turned it into advice that we can share to someone else. We've turned it into interesting backstory of ourselves as a protagonist, interesting lore that we take with us. And optimism is something that is rejuvenating. Again, we can swing through extremes in this life around feeling the depths of despair at one moment and then the next hour seeing a flower and finding the beauty in it. You can have pity parties, woe is me mentality, but optimism is something that can be rejuvenated, right? And honestly, the later part of Thursday feels adventurous. We have the Sagittarius moon trining Venus in Aries. That builds that evening. So if you want like an adventurous date night of some sort, Thursday could be good. Trying a new restaurant, maybe even going axe throwing or going to an escape room, like some sort of active date night might be nice on Thursday. It feels to be a lot of conversing with Mercury square Jupiter. Just be mindful. If it is like a first date or something, someone could be blowing a lot of hot air. Or what's the term? Filling your tires with air? I don't know. There's a term around that. Someone could be full of hot air. You know, someone could be talking themselves up, right? Existing in their own delusional reality a little too much, wanting you to meet them there, right? in some regard, but does feel to be adventurous, exploratory. Even if you're not on a date, there could be an energy around challenging yourself. Like, it's good to put ourselves in situations that are challenging. It's good to put ourselves out there for new experiences. It's good to go rock climbing, even if that scares us a little bit. Or maybe we're typically more comfy drinking tea on the couch one evening, but we have this birthday dinner in the Gaslamp Quarter, an environment that we typically don't go to. Like, it's good to put ourselves out there. It's good at times to challenge ourselves, right? With Venus and Aries, like, we have to come down to why we came here as human beings. Came here to grow. And we grow through stressful circumstances. We grow through situations that challenge us. Again, show up. Show up. Show up for what in your life is challenging you. Show up for what within your craft you are being asked to refine. Show up for experiences that are outside of your comfort zone. Again, I probably would have been a little bit more comfy drinking hot tea on my couch rather than, shouting at that club/restaurant in the Gaslamp Quarter. But I had a great time. It was a different sort of environment. I got to connect with all sorts of different people from different walks of life. So did our protagonists, right? Got to make all of these different connections. Sometimes it's good to be outside of our comfort zone, right? A lot of the planets, as I noted, are outside of their comfort zone. So it's a nudge for you also to get outside of yours, however that's showing up for you. On Friday, February 21st, so the Sagittarius moon squares off with that Mercury-Jupiter square. So we have a mutable T-square building in the early hours. And so you could just feel like your mind is a ping pong ball, just going all over the place. Like, you're trying to start your day, then you get a call and this client needs this, and your kid is crying and your dog just threw up. Like, it doesn't even need to be necessarily like stressors that are pulling your attention all over. Maybe it's even just ideas around, oh, I could do this. Oh, should I do this? Should I do this? Like, feeling pulled in many different directions can be the energy within the early hours. Feeling a little all over the place. It's going to be important not to judge yourself if you find yourself swinging intensely from emotion to emotion. Sometimes you can feel insane how much your emotions can change from moment to moment around how is it possible that 2 hours ago I wanted to quit my job and now I'm having this genuinely heartfelt moment with this, elderly patient that I'm working with, and now I'm like loving what it is that I do. Have space to just hold the moment and don't judge yourself if the moment changes moment to moment, right? And like I said, focus might be a little bit of a challenge. That evening at 7:50 p.m., the moon squares off with Saturn. So this could be an energy around all of that distraction or moving towards new horizons. There might be an acknowledgement around what you didn't get done this week. Or again, just feeling a little discouraged, okay? There's some moments where we're like, I could speak French, I've got this. And then some moments where we're like, why do I even try? And everybody goes through that. Everybody goes through that. Again, it's so easy from an outer perspective to think, well, everybody else knows what they're doing and everybody else is good at what it is that they do and everybody else feels utterly confident of themselves at all moments. No, we all have moments of doubting ourselves, of doubting our gifts, of doubting what life is presenting to us. But there's an invitation this week and beyond. Show up, right? Show up. The currents may be what the currents may be, but you've got fins. Keep showing up. There also could be an energy of just like acknowledging what you didn't get done. You weren't very productive. You're like, oh gosh, I forgot about this, or this project went by the wayside, or I didn't get enough done this week, or will I ever get to where it is that I'm going? The Sagittarius moon trines Chiron a little after that. So that's kind of like putting healing balm on whatever punch to the gut we're feeling, or whatever feels a little discouraging, or where our faith is feeling a little tested at this point in time. With the Sagittarius moon trining Chiron, it's kind of like this energy around, licking our wounds. Sometimes we flop, sometimes we slay. On Saturday, February 22nd, so the Sagittarius moon squares off with Neptune midday. And this could be an energy around getting lost in your own world. I mean, you can make this energy work for you by going on some sort of quest, right? Going on a hike, getting lost in the forest, getting lost in a concert, getting lost in a circumstance. But sometimes it can show up around us feeling lost. Like, what am I doing? What am I doing in life? And like I said, it's important to shift your relationship to feeling lost. Like, to even admit that you're feeling lost indicates you're on a quest. You're on a journey, my friend. And any hero in their journey has moments where they are checking their compass, like, is this the right way? Right? And around feeling lost. And what do you do in those moments that you feel lost? You look up towards your own North Star, right? And that can be directionally, sure. But also in your journey, is having your own North Star, something that gives you a sense of faith and encouragement to keep going up, even if the path is looking a little less clear at this particular moment. Keep following that. And that takes faith, that takes intuition. Like, that's how we make our delusions work out, right? Is because there's some pull towards it. There's a reason why we feel guided towards it. And even though there's moments where it's like, will I ever make this dream a reality? It's like, but I keep feeling nudged in this particular direction. I need to follow what in my life gives me a sense of hope, what gives me a sense of encouragement, even with things that are feeling challenging. And you will have parts of your journey where it's like, you're lost on the path. Other people are telling you, you missed your exit, you need to go back. But it's like, my North Star is that way. And even though the path ahead is feeling so uncertain, I need to follow what it is that I am guided towards. Because your own intuition is the most powerful compass that you have on this planet. And following that, like we talked about last week, some people will call you Delulu and say you should be realistic, you should go on the path that everybody else goes towards. But there's a reason why you're so led. There's a reason why plugging into this vision gives you such a sense of hope and renewal and inspiration that allows you to keep going even when things feel uncertain. And I would say, if you're not on an adventure on Saturday, great adventure day, honestly, especially the earlier part. If you're not on an adventure, if you do have work or tasks, you could feel yourself kind of daydreaming quite a bit, being a little checked out. Sometimes with squares to Neptune, we are more sensitive. Again, your protection and your rituals need to be on point this Pisces season, okay? The moon is void from 12:38 p.m. until the moon enters Capricorn at 3:09 p.m. And if you're wondering, you're like, Haley Comet, that was a lot of days that you said, focus might be a challenge. You might be kind of in your own world. When am I meant to be productive? The moon in Capricorn should help you, although we are preparing for next week's new moon in Pisces. So we are in the balsamic moon phase, or the waning crescent moon phase, which tends to be a time that we do withdraw a little bit. We return back to our own North Star. We look for meaning typically from within. Sometimes we do feel nudged to release things, to let go of things, whether it's belongings that no longer serve, identities that no longer serve, beliefs that no longer serve. Sometimes we kind of are in our hermit era when the moon is in its waning crescent moon phase, because some parts of our path, we have to walk it alone. Even if we have loved ones within our life who are cheering us, there are some parts of the path that are ours to trailblaze, or ours to define, or ours to move towards. And there are certain things that not everybody will get or understand, because it's not their North Star. It's not their calling. It's not their fate, really. And with the moon in Capricorn, yes, downside, you could be feeling a little hard on yourself. You could be feeling a little blocked from your own intuition, from your own emotions. But this should be an energy around seeing your North Star and showing up for it, being willing to do the work to move through the terrain, allowing yourself to know certain things are fated. Your North Star is your North Star, but it's your job to follow it. That's refining your crafts and abilities in order to show up. That's going into Duolingo and learning French. That is showing up with your harness to rock climb. That is showing up for that campaign that you volunteered for at work that feels a little out of your job description, but challenges you in a certain direction. Like, you've got to show up for it. Like, your fate is your own, and there will be parts of it that swimming through it is challenging. It requires you to show up. It requires you to feel tested in some degree. And the moon in Capricorn is all about that. And so you can find you're a bit more productive in the latter part of Saturday around showing up for the responsibilities within your life. Cleaning, organizing, grocery shopping, like dealing with the realities of life. On Sunday, February 23rd, my loves, we did it. We did it. Shout out to us. That one was a doozy. Mars is now direct, or at least it's direct on Sunday evening at 6 p.m. exactly. Keep in mind, Mars is still not dignified, so it might take some time for us to really feel the wind in our sails, but there should be an energy around feeling like we can move forward. If we've been playing catch up, if we've been late on our upload schedule, I don't know who that would be. I have no idea who that would be. But wherever it is that we feel like we've been dealing with more frustration and feeling more drained and feel depleted, there should be an energy around finally feeling like we can move forward, finally feeling motivated again. Like within the vibe check, you had not dusted off your French books in months, right? You just were not motivated. It seemed hard. It's so hard remembering all the conjugation. It's so hard with the pronunciation. It's so hard. It's so hard. It's so hard. I don't have energy. I don't have motivation. And this experience like kind of lit a fire under your butt in a certain sense around, you know what? This is what I dream of. I want to go to France. I want to speak this language fluently. I need to show up for it. I need to practice it. Like this entire experience was the universe nudging me to do so. The universe can bring me to an environment where I'm kind of like forced in a sense to practice my French, but it's up to me to take that experience and see that as a sign around, okay, I've got to carve this path around learning French. Again, the universe does its work a lot of times. It puts us in scenarios where we can challenge ourselves and grow, but it's up to us to actually see it as that and then show up to do our work, right? Because in an alternate world, this vibe check could have been like you not having that dialogue with that individual within the bathroom and choosing to just continue to enmesh yourself in feelings of shame and guilt around, why do I never practice French? And why did I never get good enough in order to get fluent? And why me? Why me? Why me? The universe is like, hello? Like, hello? We're giving you all of the clues. We're giving you all of the signs. We orchestrated this event to have you practice French. We had you walk to the park and pass 3 posters. We put 3 posters in your line of vision of different French tutors. We have sent you Instagram posts of people in French. How much more can we do? We can't open those books for you and make you study French. That's you. That's your work. The universe does its work. You got to do yours. And I will say you will feel more motivated to do your work with Mars direct. You might feel like with Mars retrograde, especially with Pisces, and a little beaten down by life, a little beaten down by the currents of what is, and just like it's so easy for everybody else to speak French, and I can't do this, and I guess I'll just have to dream of France and never really go. But like with Mars direct, it's like, okay, there are elements of my fate that are in my hands. There's elements of the currents that I'm just in the midst of, but I can swim. Right? I can swim. And we also have in the morning at 8:58 a.m. Mercury in Pisces trining Mars in Cancer. And so this was the energy around the dialogue within the bathroom, right? You conversing with this language, challenging yourself. Mars is hard. Mars is a planet that's around, conflict and severing. It's a planet that's around challenging and activating and conquest. Like it's not an easy planet at all. And with Mercury trine Mars, it's like challenging ourselves with our words, challenging ourselves with what it is that we are learning about, challenging ourselves even when it comes to our mentality. Our mentality impacts so much of this experience. Again, I'm not saying we need to be all love and light about every experience in this world, but it is so important how you do your push-ups here. Again, you could do the work, you could open the French textbook and say yes to the challenge, but you also have to do the work here around I am capable and competent enough to learn French. I'm capable and competent enough to make this happen for myself. I'm capable and competent enough in order to launch this campaign at work, in order to rock climb. You gotta feel it here. Because that's going to support you in motivation and continuing to show up if you hold yourself within that vision. It's so easy with Pisces season to indulge in woe is me, woe is me, woe is me. I'll never get better at French. I'll never get better at French. But you've got to be able to see yourself within the vision of you learning French. Because again, this world will be all too apt to beat you down of your dreams because it's not realistic. Oh, it's not realistic to learn a new language at this age. Oh, it's not realistic to do that campaign. You've never done it before. Oh, it's not realistic to rock climb. Oh, it's not realistic to talk about your passion all day long and genuinely help people on their path as you do so. That's not realistic. Pisces is energy around, why would I want to be realistic? Reality sucks. Reality sucks. Why would I want to be realistic? You've got to believe in your dreams because no one else is going to believe them for you. They'll tell you it's not realistic until you do it. And then they'll be like, how did you do that? Because you believed in yourself and you believed in your dreams. And it's beyond even just believing in it. When you curate the waters here, you show up for the work outside in your reality, right? Even if it challenges you, even if you have moments of doubting yourself, it's deciding, no, I am aligning with my dreams and with the world that I'm building more so than the world that I feel like I just have to resign to, right? You've got to swim towards that vision. Currents will help you. If it is made for you and meant for you, the currents of the universe will help you. But you've got to swim. You've got to direct. You've got to follow that North Star, even when these fish want you to go that way. And these fish are telling you it's more realistic to go that way. No, I'm lit up by this way. I'm inspired by this way. This way challenges me, but this way fulfills me. And so a lot of the work is here. And that could be either learning something, having a conversation with someone, motivating someone within your language, writing something on Sunday, or just doing the things that align you with your dream. And early Sunday, like I'm talking after midnight, the Capricorn moon sextiles Pisces sun. So again, dream it and do it, right? And sometimes Capricorn moon, we can hold ourselves back because it's not perfect, because we don't feel like we have a plan. Again, waiting with our compass and the North Star to like chart the most ideal pathway forward that's going to be perfect without hiccups. Some part of the path, you got to be on the path to realize. Like you might have charted it out and not recognize, oh, there's actually a stream here that I have to cross. And if you wait for that perfect moment, you will never move towards that North Star, because some parts of the path cannot be planned out, cannot be perfect. Because some things we learn by doing, right? That's why sometimes flying too close to the sun, agreeing to go rock climbing, leading up this campaign at work. Yeah, it's scary. It intimidates us quite a bit. We can read books on rock climbing all day long. We can read books around how to effectively lead a campaign at work all day long. You gotta do it. You gotta do it. Doing it is the best teacher that there is. You can read all the books, you can understand all the perspectives, so you can chart the perfect plan, but the doing is the teacher, because there's certain things that cannot be understood from reading a book. There's certain things that cannot be understood by learning about it. You gotta do it, right? And that's messy sometimes. We even see that with the Capricorn moon squaring Venus in Aries at 9:52 a.m. Venus in Aries is all around initiation, that spark, which is helping. I know that fire in the cosmos is being a bit, poured out with all the water, but Venus in Aries is lit up by a challenge, and its ruler is getting ready to station direct. Yes, this can bring in elements of feeling frustrated. Like sometimes we get really frustrated with ourselves around, why am I not learning French? Why do I not create the time to do this? Like, why do I do this? And sometimes we can get lost in that, beating ourselves up in that. Why did I not practice sooner? Why did I not take that opportunity before? Do not sacrifice your most precious resource in this lifetime, that is your time, by beating yourself up on the woulda, shoulda, coulda, or feeling like your fate somehow passed you by. Like it's over and done with. You'll never be able to learn French again. No, take charge. Be urgent about the present moment. And there's never been a better time to start. Okay, don't get too caught up around the path that you did not take, or I feel like it's too late for me to have what it is that I want. Start now. Start here, right? And allow yourself to alchemize that frustration around, why didn't I start earlier? Why can't I motivate myself to do it? Start now, right? Don't waste any more time. If you are beating yourself up because you didn't start a year ago, you're going to beat yourself up in a year from now that you didn't start right now. Start right now, even if it's not perfect, because that's the energy of the Cap Moon, Venus in Aries. Venus in Aries wants to start now around what excites us and intrigues us, but the Capricorn Moon is either being hard on ourselves because it's not perfect enough, what have you. You also just could feel the Mars energy alive. Honestly, on Sunday, we tend to really sharply feel planets as they switch directions. So you could feel frustrated. You could feel a little bit more tense. You could feel a little bit more impatient. Okay. And with Moon square Venus, there just could be this battle around what you should be doing versus what lights you up, or what's expected of you versus what challenges genuinely motivate you. Then that evening, speaking of Mars, the Capricorn moon opposes Mars in Cancer. So again, we can be feeling a little frustrated, a little annoyed, a little tense, okay, with the moon opposite Mars. Sometimes we feel drained, we feel exhausted, honestly, when we have moon, Mars contacts. Give that Mars direct some time, okay? Let it get going, let it retrace its steps. You should start to feel within the pretty near future here more motivated, more ready to show up for the challenges, trials, and tribulations of your journey. You've got this. So my loves, that is our week. The Magic Monday mantra of the week is, I love my fate. When we are swimming through Pisces season and eclipse season at that, you have to love your fate. You don't have to like it. You don't have to like it at every part. Sometimes our fate sucks. It's like, why do I have to learn this lesson? Why am I going through yet another rebirth? Like, what is going on, universe? Like, why are you doing this to me? You don't have to like it at every step, but you have to love it because it's yours. Your birth chart is your own. Your transits are your own. Your North Star is your own. Your path is your own. You have to love it. You have to show up for it. Loving your fate is the best way to actualize it. Because again, there's the promise of the natal chart, but you still have free will. You can have a natal chart with all of these trines and exaltations and planets in their house joy, and still not live the most aligned, actualized lives. I actually find a lot of my clients, the individuals who have very malefic influences or very harsh energies within their chart, that gives us our fighting spirit. That makes us show up. That makes us want to counteract all of like the darkness that we've seen within this experience and turn it into some light, or take the ugliness and find some beauty. It challenges us. It makes us show up for it. Because when we have a quote unquote easy chart, sometimes there is an energy around resting on our laurels or just being a fish, passively being carried by the current. Or sometimes when we have very intense dynamics within our chart, it makes us show up. And again, one thing you cannot change about this world is the sky that you were born under, and essentially the transits that you will go through at the point in time. They're not all going to be pleasant. I'm not saying you have to like every part of it, but it's yours, and it requires you to show up for it and to fall in love with it and to be very intentional where it is that you're like, well, this is just the currents that I'm carried in, so what's even the point? Yeah, but you were created with fins to swim. So my loves, if you made it to the end of the forecast, go ahead and comment below the fish emoji or utilize the word fish within a sentence to let me know that you made it into the end. My Instagram handle is at Haley Comet Astrology. My TikTok is the same. I would so love to connect with you over there. Again, very happy birthday to all of my fish out there. It's our season. But until we meet again, I'll see you here in the Cosmic Corner, same time, same place. Drink lots of water and stay cosmic.